Hey guys, this is Neek and Rest, and this is She Wolf Alchemy. Today we're talking about getting back with the exes.
So, yeah, we're talking about getting back with the exes. It really seems like love is back in the air. We have been in isolation. We might go back into isolation according to the news. But now that everybody's back out, you're starting to see active love lives again. You're starting to see people posting more pics on Instagram with a boo or a loved one. But I've also noticed there's been a trend of people getting back with their exes. So we are going to explore the positives and the negatives of this. So before we even start off, Nick, what is your view on this? Is this like always a no for you? Is this kind of a gray area type of thing?
I think it's a great area for me. I recently tried this year, and it just didn't seem to work with me. And so I just cut it off. And so it made me think like, yeah, maybe I should just leave everybody from my past alone because it's just not working for me. It's just like the same problems from before. So resurfacing and reminding me why I stopped. But for now, I did it all the time. I'm gonna be honest, I did. I didn't have a reservation about it. Especially like I'm kind of scared of the unknown or scared of somebody new. So it was kind of my thing to just go ahead and recycle. But now I'm seeing that it's just not going to work. But I'm kind of nervous about what the future holds. I never just allowed that to happen. I always just pick somebody from the past and say this will do. So I'm kind of nervous about the future. But I see from experience that it's just not working.
All right. And we are actually going to talk about that. We are going to get into the whole, are you really going back just because you're scared of trying to find somebody new? But we'll get into that a little later. For me, it's usually a no, but I won't say forever no. I definitely think there are situations where things are great and there was little problems that just at the time people decided to give up on. I definitely think there are certain areas. I think there are definitely people who make a good couple, but it was the wrong time. They made a good couple, but one or both of them had some lessons they still need to learn, some trauma they still needed to figure out. I think that is still a thing. And I don't want to say no forever because I've actually known people who like broke up and like when you really looked at the situation, you're like, that probably could have been worked out and they got back together and are married now happily. So I have seen situations where it worked, but I think you have to be very careful about why you're getting back together, why it really ended. So let's look at Okay. So, if you get back with a person now, you meet in your 30s as an adult, what does it take? Like, is it just a matter of, I really loved him, so yes? Or is it a matter of, you got to jump through all these hoops? Like, if somebody from your past are trying to come back now, what would that take to get you to be like, okay, we can try this again?
I guess the person. Some people just I'm never going to allow to come back ever. But if I really did love him, like you said, like I really did love you, why not? Let's try again. That could kind of get me caught up to want to give it a try. But it's also had to have a talk before it to see where our heads are for both. Yeah.
Are you one of those people who like you can just call me and be like, I love you, let's try, and have a conversation? Like, is that all it takes for you? Like, I just need you to come to me and be open, honest with your feelings, and let's get this all out on the table.
Again, it depends.
Okay, on the person. We're talking about someone who you didn't end like horribly with. Like someone you actually still have strong. You can't make up even a visible person. If there was somebody out there and it was situational breakup, is it just a matter of them giving you a call and being honest and open?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So for you, the biggest thing is like feelings, honesty, communication, to kind of get you more in that gray area than to be in the direct no.
Yeah.
Okay. I am it takes more than conversation person. It just doesn't, it don't sit right for a person to like, if they hurt me and it wasn't a matter of me hurting them, they actually hurt me. You can't just send me a text. You cannot just call me.
It matters how it ended. If somebody hurt me, no, none of those people that hurt me can come come back. Like, hurt me on, I guess, a different levels. Like, I had try me, or even situationships try me again, but a lot of them gotta know, like, hard pass, like, no, I'm good. But I think it's just how like, a situational is different, but hurting me and not caring, but then coming back like I'm changed, that's not gonna work. No, I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Like you said, I think it's really situational. I think there's certain things. I was thinking the other day about a particular person and a particular thing that hurt me at something. I saw something that like brought it back up to my memory. And even though like I really enjoyed my time with them, the reason why it ended for me was like really like you made me question myself. You made me question where I stand. You made me question why you were still unready. And that takes a lot. That takes a lot to make me question it. Like, I think only one other person in my life made me feel that way. And I was a lot younger when that happened, you know? So for you to do that, and I'm a grown ass adult, one, that means my feelings were like really, really in there. But two, I get that type of pain. So if you cause me that type of pain, like it came up recently, like, yo, you should probably forgive this person. And it always comes up. And I'm just like, no, I'm perfectly happy staying mad at them. Like, it's not even an active mad, but it was just like, that really hurt. And you didn't even handle my hurt well. Kind of like you said, like how you act, how you treat it. If I felt like you also hurt me, and then like after the hurt, it felt like you didn't even care that you hurt me. Like for me, that's another level. And you know, I'll never say never to like, oh, getting back with a person, especially because whenever I say something like, yeah, I don't like that, usually the universe is like, boom, and now you do. So I'll never say never, but for me, situations like that, like it has to be a grand gesture type thing. Like I want to come home to my whole apartment, or now house, my whole house filled with roses. I want Keith Sweat singing somewhere in the background. I want doves released outside. I want a puppy with like a ring running towards me. Like you need to go all out. You need to go all out. We still have to have the conversation. We still have to work through things. Also, I'm a huge believer in like, don't just they come back and y'all both miss each other and then just get back into it. Because when you don't talk about things, and also when you don't give yourself time, there is some unresolved feelings, no matter how much you miss them. But one person, there's always going to be some unresolved feelings that come up later. So even if you're all like, yay, good, and lovey-dovey, y'all going to be sitting one day watching a movie. Y'all going to be watching Insecure, and you're going to see Lawrence not putting in effort, and you're going to look at him like, yeah, with your non-effort putting in ass. Yeah, you used to put in effort now, but 2 years ago, and now you mad, and he confused. And you feel stupid talking about it because you forgave him, quote unquote, and y'all decided to move on. I know I'm definitely guilty of that. I am definitely guilty of like being like, you know, it's fine, I'm over it. And I'm going to be very clear, it's very rare for me to be like, yeah, it's fine, and actually just continue stuff on with people I'm really good at, just be like, we don't need to talk, cut off communication. But I am guilty on the times I have been like, yo, it's fine, whatever. And then like drive with him, and then like Keisha Cole comes on, or who else was like, my man always playing me. Who? I'm trying to think, because Keisha, that's like her genre. Who else? But
Mary
like,
J. Blige.
Yeah. And well, Mary J was more like, she was like real grown up type pain. Keisha Cole was like, you knew you wasn't supposed to be messing with him type pain. Like you said he was a thug from the street and was a hoe. Like, what did you think was gonna happen? But something like that, like we'll be driving and Keisha Cole come on, and I'll just side eye him out of nowhere, like, yeah, because it took your ass 7 months to commit, because you thought you was just gonna run out here and pass through hoes, and I was gonna wait. Yeah, I ain't forgot. Okay, you know what? Next thing you know, I'm mad, and he's just like, I thought we were gonna have a nice dinner, and you're not talking, and I don't know why. And of course, me being emotionally immature, just be like, I'm not even mad anyway. Like, just blow it out of proportion. So I definitely think, like, even with the grand gesture type thing, yeah, you still need to talk about it, and I still think you need to take things slow and don't try to jump in and start where you guys left off.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, I can let things go and talk about it, but then it's the guys that's just that they don't bring it up per se, but it's on their mind until I bring it up, and then we talk about it, like, yeah, that like they always bring back up the stuff I did in the past. So I'm just like, we shouldn't be talking.
Yeah.
But it's always me that brings it up. So you know how I live anyway.
I'm like cracking up in my head, trying to hold back because me and you are always like the exact opposite in life. Like whatever you're going through, mine is the opposite. Because you, and you're right. You are like an incredibly forgiving person, and you know how to let things go. You know how to like love people through pain or love people through, messed up or like they did something. You're like, no, I love you. I'll learn. We'll forgive. You're really good at that, and you're right. You do. Your past has been the dudes. Like they're like, I'm good. But then all of a sudden, like certain issues start coming up. You're like, okay, so you're still mad about this. With me, it's the exact opposite where like I don't forgive stuff. Like it's hot. Like for me, I think it's because like if you actually hurt my feelings, that's something rare. That is something actually really rare. Like if you hurt in a real way, like you might annoy me, you might disappoint me. But I usually like I'm not gonna cry over you. Like I'm not gonna be like I can't go on. Like I'm not gonna do that. But if I get to that point, like it's like, yeah, you hurt my ego. Like I let you in a space I don't let people in. And for me, it's really hard for me to let go. Versus I feel like in the past, I done did some shit. And like, no. I'm dating people that are just like, I know your ass need therapy. It's okay. And then just like go on with the relationship. So mine is the exact opposite. Usually the guys are like super, super forgiving, and I'm the one that's just like, now I'm mad. I'm not going to talk to you for 3 days. Or at least that's how it was. I think going forth, I will be better. This is all talking in theory, though. I have no idea. I haven't tested it out yet. So we'll see. We'll see what happens eventually in life. So one of the things the experts say about getting back together is one, make sure you're not getting back together with them just because you're lonely. Another one they really focus on is this something that can actually work? Like, are you getting back together and it can work? Or do you know there's fundamental differences between y'all? There are traits that are inherent that aren't going to change that one or both of y'all have. And you're just like, yeah, I'm going to still go through it. The other one is kind of like you said, is it the fear of unknown? Are you just going back to them because you are scared to have to put yourself out there again, learn a new person, let a new person learn you?
It's just so difficult to learn a new person. So difficult.
It is. Oh. It is. It's difficult and scary.
Yes. It's just, I don't know. Especially when it doesn't flow easily. I haven't done that. Like, you dated last year, but I haven't done that in years. Because clearly the people I talk to are the people I talk to. So I didn't have to relearn them. They knew me. I knew them. Like, in these times, dating, it's even different from 4 years ago or whenever, I don't know how many years ago I met my fiance. But it's just like, even back then, and that wasn't that many years ago. It was 16, 15. It was even safer to date, in my opinion, than now.
Oh, like, yeah.
It's just crazy.
Oh, yeah. I think, again, the whole advancement in online dating has made it harder because there's always this grass is greener, and it creates this mentality. Like, I see people posting all the time, like, you act up, I got 5 others, or I'm not gonna stop doing me until you blah 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 blah. But it's like, okay, but if you don't stop doing you, they might be thinking the same thing. So now both of y'all just playing games because neither one wants to be like, I want you, and let's do this for real. Let me stop playing games with other people. Let me just talk to you. But instead, it's like a going back and forth of games. And because we can just press one button and swipe, we have access to all these people we normally would not have access to. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that has made dating hard. And I think also it's a dangerous game to play because, one, even when you're doing that, you're swiping stuff, like, you are lucky if you find somebody that you're actually like, yo, because there's so many people out there who like straight up will say, not looking for anything serious. Yeah. And you be like, sir, you 48 with with scoliosis, I feel like you do need to find somebody. You need to find somebody to take care of you. I don't know why you're still playing.
You got to get Christy in these streets. You did.
It always blows my mind when I meet men who are like, I mean, even the ones who are like, yeah, I want to settle down. And it was like, you spent 50 years hoeing and now your ass want to settle down. We don't want you. We don't want you.
Wholesome girl too.
Right. Like, we can't even settle down with you. You done messed with like 8 of our girlfriends. Like, what do you mean? Don't nobody want that now. That is my theory, that's what happens when you see these men who are like 60 and never married, but they finally get married like a 28-year-old because that's his only option at this point. He don't burn through the rest of his age group. So, but I agree. I think it's very hard. Also, people, and I'm sure this was all the time. I mean, I know this was like in our grandparents' time as well, but now it's easier to find things out. And people lie so much about things that it's like, sir, all I had to do is press Google. Like, all I had to do is go back 2 weeks in your photos. And like, you had the whole conversation in comments. Like, what are you doing? Why would you lie about this? I know I used to work with a girl who met this guy from her hometown. She lived down here. Met this guy from her hometown, and she was telling me like how things were going good. They were like, they had mutual friends on Facebook. They added each other and then just started talking. They had this like connection. They were both talking about people they know. Like, she was setting up a trip to go see him, all this stuff. And she just randomly was like on his page one day and like saw a comment, went to that person's page, from that person's page, saw, just, how you go through that string of, his auntie's boyfriend's girlfriend. And it was one of those situations. And she ended up on his fiance's page because he had a fiance.
No, whole fiance?
Whole fiance had baby shower pictures and everything, like from like a week ago.
Girl.
I remember me and her in the office talking, and I was just like, oh, yeah. I had a situation where I had somebody who I had been best friends for years. This is when I was really, really young, though. I had been best friends for years, and I had moved away, and I was closer to them because we lived far away. Because I had moved when I was, I moved when I was a child, but we stayed in touch and everything. When I came, I was living like 30 minutes away from him, and we decided to start dating. He had like a whole woman he had like just proposed to like a week before we started talking. Like, I didn't know nothing about this woman. Like, he was in love. He was like, they had been together for years. Keep in mind, me and this guy was like he knew all my secrets. I thought I knew all his secrets, like since the age of 12. And at this point, I'm like 18. And I'm like, I had never heard of this girl. So that's the thing where I'm like, why did you? Because I think they were together for like 2-3 years. And I, as his friend, did not know at all. But also, like, it was one of those situations where it was like, if you even respect me as a friend, why would you do that?
Exactly.
And for a long time, it was something, well, still, yeah, I was going to say for a long time, I'm healed. I'm not. But for a long time, it was something because it was like, how can I trust this guy I met and we've been dating for 4 months when I knew someone I knew for 7 years, cried on their shoulder, told them my deepest secrets, thought they were telling me their deepest secrets, and he lied to me about a whole bunch of stuff. He had a whole other situation going on that I knew nothing about. And it's just like, when you go through experiences like that, it makes it really hard to like put yourself out there and be like, okay, I'm willing to learn a new person. I'm willing to let a new person love me. And it makes it real easy to go back to, well, at least I know what to expect for you.
Yeah.
Like, I know you're not a liar. I mean, yeah, you're not a cheater. Yeah, I know you're not a cheater. I know you're not a liar. You're just lazy. Or you're just horrible at communication. And I've gotten used to you and your horrible at communication. So I'm just...
It's like, you think you get used to it, but then it's just like, when you get back into it, it's like, oh, he still can't communicate.
Yeah. It just recycles. And I mean, and that goes back to like their question of like, before you even get back together, let's be realistic. Does this really work? Like, can this really work? And I had a situation like this. I was in a relationship with somebody for a long time. We were in a relationship for a couple of years, and I knew fundamentally we had completely different personalities. I knew fundamentally like this was not the type of person like I wanted to marry. This is the type of person I could be friends with. This is the type of person I could kick it with, blah, blah, blah. But we just had very huge fundamental things. Like for me, I like hard workers. Like that is so sexy to me. I like people who are ambitious. I like people who are about putting in work. It's such a turn off when people are lazy. It's such a turn off to me when people always want to find the easiest way. And by easiest way, I mean like, I'm not saying, oh yeah, I want to start my own company and I get to call in and decide when I work. That's not what I mean. I still think that's ambitious. I'm talking about like, so you called off of work 10 days this month. Why? Okay, to watch Rick and Morty. What are we doing here? Like we have very big fundamental things, and I always knew it wasn't going to work. But I kept going back to them because they loved me so much, regardless of what I did, regardless of my flaws, regardless of how I acted, regardless of if my mental health was acting up or not. Like they loved the fuck out of me, and it was such a comforting feeling to know, no matter what, I have this person that loves me. So it was really hard for me to actually finally walk away from that because he made me feel so emotionally secure.
But he still wasn't a hard worker. He still have other qualities.
Yeah. Also, it was a lot of other things, but that was one that I remember particularly being annoyed with all the time. Because I've always been really strong in like, sir, what's not going to happen is I'm bringing in 6 figures and you are out here like flipping burgers at McDonald's. Like, I need you to do more. And there's nothing wrong with flipping burgers at McDonald's. It's just not for me. Like, I want to hear plans. I want to hear about a dream. And I don't care if you're flipping burgers at McDonald's, but you have a plan and you're actually really working. Like, you're not just sitting here like, one day I hope that's going to happen. Like, no, you are like, yeah, and I'm saving up all this money so I can buy my own food truck. And so I can buy like tangible things. There's nothing wrong with starting somewhere entry level at the bottom if you have goals. It's a whole other thing when I don't like people who get comfortable at the bottom.
That's what I had noticed that about myself, because even when I was like, in my 20s, 21, 22, like I'm working, I'm going to school, and you're just quitting a job because you're saying it's too hard or the boss is too hard on you. I'm like, what?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Like, my family wasn't like that. Like, yes, like my parents didn't go to college, but my dad was a hard worker. Like, if his car, I remember one time my dad's car was out. Like, we did struggle, we had money, or we was good. My dad rode his freaking bike to work before, so that's like, if my dad could do that, it's just like you showed me like I need a man who's gonna do whatever they gotta do to provide for their family. And I mean, I know we ain't, but if you just not going to work because you tired, you can't catch the bus. Like, or even if you say here, well, like you can't catch the bus, you can't do something. Like, that's like a whole turn off, especially the fact that I myself am a hard worker, even though right now I hate my job. To make sure that my daughter is good, that I'm good, and that I'm still trying to take care of home. Like, it's just a turn off. It's been a turn off since I was even young. Back then, it's just like I could probably have gave more leanings to you, I guess. But even then, I'm like, really?
Yeah, that is definitely a thing for me. Same thing. Like my dad, I remember one time we went through a particularly difficult time. My mom had lost her job. My dad had lost their job. And it ended up turning out great. They both ended up opening their own businesses. But we had that period where both my parents were used to making good money. Then all of a sudden they weren't. And it happened at the same time. My dad could not find a job. There were some things going on at the time. My dad couldn't find a job. My dad couldn't get anybody to hire him. And my dad has a bachelor's, 2 master's degrees, and he went and worked at a coal factory for a year. Like, he went and was like shoveling coal for a year because he was like, I'm gonna do whatever I have to do to bring money in this house. And that always stayed with me. And that's a huge thing for me in a mate. Like, I need someone that no matter what, I don't care. That's my family. I will put my pride aside. I'm gonna make sure my babies eat.
I mean, we all off the topic, but yes, it's like an ex that was like a bum. Or now I couldn't do that. I would never go back to that one. So it's situational.
Yeah. And the person I'm thinking of particularly, like, he is not a bum, because actually he's doing good for himself now and stuff, but he gets very comfortable in minimum situations. And while we were together, if we were in a crunch, Like, I knew I had to work it way out. I knew I could depend on him to work his way out. And that, to me, is something like, we can't work that out. You know, like, that's for them, that was a personality thing. So trying to go back to them when we did multiple times, it was like, why are y'all doing this? Because y'all have fundamental differences that will make this never be a successful thing.
Can you learn that same lesson?
Yeah. When then we're talking about actually going back, being together, the first thing you say ask is, okay, first, really think about why y'all really broke up. Because sometimes we end stuff with people and it was this big argument and we're explaining to people, it was like, yeah, we just got in this big argument and he said he was through, so I said I was through, blah, blah, blah. But what was really at the center of that argument? And I know for me, this is a thing. In past relationships, I have definitely in my head for a long time was like, oh, we broke up because of this and we broke up because of that. And then looking back at it, I'm like, no, we broke up because you're bad at or I'm bad at communication. And I did not feel like what we had was worth me working through my communication problems. That's really why we broke up. I know one person, I was like, we broke up because you had too many things going on mentally that you refused to address. I dated somebody who was very, successful, had a really good career, was a really good dude on paper, but had like a lot of mental health problems, which again, that's not an issue, but he was not working on his. And with some of the mental health problems he was having, it could get scary when he wasn't working on his. It can get scary when he wasn't listening to what he was supposed to be doing, when he wasn't taking his medication, when it was all this stuff. And a lot of this stuff is like hindsight type of things, because in the moment I wasn't processing it as, this is kind of weird and scary. It's just when I look back, I'm like, the universe really saved me from that when I learned out things later. Issues like that, because up until like maybe a year ago, in my head, it was like, oh, we didn't work out because of distance and because, both of us were really bad at communicating our feelings. We both were playing games. And then last year I was just like, was he playing games, or like, was he struggling with a whole situation that he refused to address? And was it like you were bad at communication, or was it you were ignoring the fact that this man was like on the brink of breakdown because you wanted to be with him? What's the real reason?
Something to really ask yourself before trying to go back in.
Oh yeah.
When I was younger, I would probably recycle it because I'm like, I wasn't thinking about wasting time back then. Yeah. I was such a more free spirit, and it's just like, oh, that's what it is. We'll figure it out. But now I'm older and wiser, and like, no, I just don't want to waste that time. I don't want to waste yours or mine. Let's just not try it. It's irritating even to like. For me, it's starting to be irritating to even attempt.
I also think when you're younger, like you have kind of like, even if you're like, I do want to get married, I have a marriage mindset, you're also kind of like, I'm 21. Like, it's just kind of like, okay, I got time. Yeah, I don't have nothing real going on. I just need to pay for gas and my insurance. Like, I got a roommate, my rent's $300. Like, it's fine. But once you become an adult, it's like, I got too much stress. I do not need to add more stress. So either you're going to be an asset or this is not going to be a thing. That's a big one for me. Like, so much about myself has changed after I became a mother. And I know that's like cliche, but like, no, there's really some major things that like people who did not know me before I had a kid, sometimes will hear stories about me. Like if they intersect with like people who knew me before I had my child, and they'll be like, what? I'm like, oh yeah. No. My child like calmed a whole bunch of stuff down. Because I took it very serious when I was like, oh, we're not going to pass this thing on generationally. I'm going to make sure this is not an issue you have.
I think you were even mature before you had her. Or maybe you were pregnant.
No.
It seems like when she moved to Georgia, it seems like it just seemed like you did mature, or you weren't doing half of the things that you were before.
Oh yeah, I mean, with age, I definitely was getting more mature with each year. But there are certain things, like, for example, there was a time when I was pregnant and I got mad at my child's father, got up and went to a hotel and didn't tell him where I was and blocked him. And I'm like 6-7 months pregnant, and he can't figure out where I am. I'm not communicating with him because I'm not from here. You know, in his head, like, did she get up and go back home? Like, blah, 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 because he cannot reach me. He don't know where I am. And y'all, I was at a hotel, like, literally 10 minutes away. And my immature ass would finally text him when I got hungry and got tired eating out because he is a cook. Like, that's what he went to school for. And I was like, I'm hungry. And he was like, all right, if I bring it, you gonna talk? And I was like, no. And he brought it and I didn't talk. But eventually I came back. But like, I would never do that now. Like, that's something I would never do now.
No, it's not. I was laughing because you sound like your daughter.
Yeah, no, that's definitely my daughter. She's
yes.
She's a very demanding little 3-foot person. She's a very demanding little person. It's Lord. Yes. So yeah, can it be resolved? And then kind of like we were talking about earlier, if you guys did have problems, can these problems actually be resolved? Like, if it was communication, did they work on their communication? Did you work on your communication? If it was money, are they better at handling their money now? Are they still gambling? You know, are they still shopping online, making sure rent is not paid? Like, did those issues resolve themselves? Or are those issues still there?
Talk about it. Yeah, I was saying something that you need to talk about.
Yeah.
But then it could be surface. Like, they can say all of that and then you can realize once again it hasn't.
Yeah, which is why I believe, like, don't jump right back in to where y'all left off. Like, go slow. Act like you dating for the first time all over again.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. But then sometimes they don't want to accept that.
Oh, no. No, that's definitely a thing.
Because we already know we don't know each other. Like, no, we don't. When I was dating you before, I said, I'm not the same person you dated years before, and I hope you're not either. That's why we're trying to try it again.
Yeah. I was just about to say that, like, first of all, you told me you was a whole new person. I don't know this new person. I need to meet this new person and decide if I like this new person or not. So let's start this over. I mean, I think when you start off also, it can go a little bit faster than if the first time you knew them and you don't, like, you haven't met his child and done her hair. Like, you can't ignore that part. Once you figure, like, okay, this feels safe. This feels like there was a real change. But yeah, to just start back over, like, y'all was engaged. You're like, okay, give me my ring back. Like, no, let's not do that. Let's not do that. Let's not put a down payment on another wedding that no one attends.
Right.
So next is the whole thing, which I brought up with my issue. Have you actually healed from the pain? Or are you saying, yes, let's get back together because you love them, you miss them, but you know you're still hurt? And basically, they say, like, yo, if you're not over it, don't get back together, or work on getting over it before you guys get back together. Is that something you can realistically get over? So I've already told my side on that, and you told about how you are forgiving, but do you want to expand on any situation where the person didn't really forgive you and you were like, it definitely feels like you're still mad at me about some things. Do we really want to do that?
Well, yeah, I was in I guess, trying to get back with that person, but they still kind of, I don't know, they kind of went off of who I was at that point. And at that point, I wasn't, like, serious about them, or I was, like, slacking. I know when I was in a situation and I was trying, because you can present yourself as a different person, but if they haven't got over what you did to them in the past, they will keep bringing it up. Or it's hard to, like, allow them to think of you as a present person than somebody that you were in the past. And then that keeps coming up. Or maybe you did something to them in the past and they try to, like, work through it, but it's in the back of their head. So it's just a lost cause if one person is holding on to the past you, or not, like, really trying to learn this new person that's in front of them.
Yeah, I agree. And it's also really hard to commit fully because, again, we're all adults now. And most of us, not everybody wants marriage. But most of us, when we're, like, trying to be in a relationship, we want long-term commitment. And it's really hard to genuinely commit yourself long-term when you still have pain. So until that's resolved, it's like, it's going to fester. And I think the longer you don't address it, the bigger that wound gets. Next is, why do you even want to get back together? And is this, like, a matter of, like, I want to get back together because I really love you, I want to be with you, actually we had something really, really good here, this was just the wrong timing? Was it just, no, I recognize that this was my fault, I have worked on this, I think you're worth, and this is worth fighting for? really think about why you want to get back together. And this, for me, this will be the only way I think I can really do the whole going back to ex at this point in my life, is that there is a part of me that's like, I actually really think this was something amazing, and this, we were just both caught up at the wrong time, or this was my fault type of thing, or it was a matter of like something that can be worked on. But it has to be a matter of like, I am really sure and I know why I want to get back together. It can't be you just hit me up and I'm like, I mean, so you asked, I guess so. Like, no, this has to be something like I've already been thinking on. All right. And so going into that, like the good reasons to get back together is because, again, it ended because of issues outside of your control. And to me, this is like long distance. This is like, hey, it's not working because you are in a city. I don't want to live in that city, but you have a lot of good things going on there for you. I'm in my city. You don't want to live in my city. And it was never really a matter of y'all not being compatible. It was just a matter of like something that was outside of y'all control. And the same with if someone has something like major going in their life, like if someone loses a parent, if someone goes through a really deep depression, something like that, something that might happen that's big enough for a person to like shut down. They're moody now. Maybe they're just like, you know what, I can't do this, whatever. Things like that. Because those are things that people are, one, understandable, and then people just have to process through. And once they process through that, like you can definitely mend that. And then going back to the obvious, someone genuinely changed. You recognize that there was a problem on your part and you're willing to fix it, and they're willing to accept that you're willing to fix it. Or the opposite. They recognize there was a problem on their fault and they actually genuinely fixed it. And then next we have emotional issues. If there was some emotional issues, because the truth of the matter is, I know people like to post on there, like you'll see things about, it's so weird. I feel like on social media, you'll see people say like mental health awareness and we support the people who are struggling mentally. But then you also have those posts like, and y'all be out here depressed and stuff and want people to deal with you, blah, 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 blah. It's like people will post the same thing in the same week. And I think people who are traumatized deserve love too. People who are depressed deserve love too. I really hate the saying, I really, really hate when people say, until you get yourself together, nobody's going to love you, or the universe won't send you your person. You need to work on you. I know lots of damaged individuals with great spouses, great partners, and their partners was a big part of why they got better. Their part, that relationship was a big part of why they're not depressed anymore. And not even in a way of they're codependent and they're only happy because of the relationship, but sometimes it's because, wow, this person's really inspirational. They went through all this stuff and they pushed through. And that's inspired me to push through. Or, wow, this person knows I'm struggling and they allow me to go through my own process. And they allow me to go through my own feelings and they're still here loving and supporting me. So it encourages me to do what I'm supposed to do. I think sometimes we forget that because I think we think of the extremes. There's definitely some people who are traumatized, that are suffering with illnesses, and it can be a dangerous situation, or it's just completely unhealthy. It's very toxic. But there is a middle ground. It's not always that extreme. There is a middle ground. There is a softer side to it. I think especially if someone was, going through a hard time mentally and they managed to get themselves back together, especially if it was like when they were going through that period, they didn't seem like themselves. It seemed like a different person. If they work to get themselves back on track and they got themselves together mentally, I think that also is something you can be willing to work on.
They got through whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm thinking particularly about like depressive episodes. I know I myself have been through them, and I've also dated people who have been through them. And like, I know I went through, like, I was dating someone and I went through a really bad depressive episode, and I just like emotionally shut down. I just completely emotionally shut down, and they couldn't take it. And that's that's perfectly fine. I was like really not communicating. I didn't really want to see them. I really was doing me. And I don't mean that I was going out stuff. Like, I was isolating myself. I was really completely isolating myself. And like, that makes sense to me why they left, but it's like after I got myself together and I got out of that episode, they did come back and they were like, and this was when I was like maybe like 19, but they did, and that was something like for the time being we were able to work on. In the same where I have dated someone who went through a depressive episode and they really just stopped caring about everything. I could just see them stop caring about themselves. And I was like, I can't. And it started to feel codependent, where it was like, I feel like I am your lifeline and this isn't healthy. Because I feel like I'm now responsible for your happiness. I'm now responsible if anything happens to you because you're so dependent on me. And we did. Me and this person ended things. And me and this person is friends now. We did not get together back after that particular thing, but that's because there was additional issues there.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, how did you respond to that, or would you consider being back if you said they're fine now? But
yeah, I felt like I was really supportive, and I was really like understanding, and I was really like, okay, you're not going to do the same things you used to do because you're going through a difficult time. That's fine. Okay, you are no longer really taking care of yourself, and it almost feels like you don't care about yourself. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna just have to remind you, like, hey, we do need to do this. I'm gonna try to be your support. I'm gonna try to be encouraging, blah blah blah. But then after a while, it became like I was their mother and their therapist, and I no longer felt like their partner.
Yeah.
So like that's how it felt for me. And I tried very hard to push through it, but it got to a point where I remember even trying to like communicate with them, like, yo, we gotta do something about this. Like, I'm trying to be supportive, and like they threatened me with suicide. They threatened me like, if you leave, I'm gonna kill myself. And that's when I was like, nope, we not doing this.
No.
And like, guys, I just want to make that very clear. If somebody is doing that to you, that is a form of manipulation.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give advice on how you should handle that, but I do want you to know that that is a form of manipulation, and you are not responsible for another person's life in that way. Unless you have little people, you're responsible for them.
No. I don't understand why they would feel that's okay. That's just a manipulative tactic.
Yeah, and that was actually the thing that made it the last straw for me, because I was like, nope, because I'm not about to have you pull this every single time. I'm telling you, this is becoming draining for me. I need you to at least try.
I'm gonna allow myself to be in again.
Yeah,
and that's bad too. Okay.
Yeah, and that's definitely the thing. I've definitely worked with clients who have been in those type of relationships where it was a norm, where the person would be like, yeah, and I will, if you leave me, I'll kill myself and blah, blah, blah. And I've worked with clients who are be like, yeah, it's okay. He says that every Tuesday. And it's like, that has to be draining. That has to be draining to continually do it, because now you're so used to it that it's numbing you, that you are just like, I guess that means I gotta come home, because if I don't, he gonna make this a whole thing. Like, it's very draining.
I think the person got the clue, like, that doesn't work for me.
Oh, so you went through it as well?
Yeah.
By
the end, it's bad that I said that, but that person brought it worse than me. Okay, if you do it, go ahead. Like, I didn't care. Like at the end, I was like, I don't care. Like, you don't care? No, I don't. Just go. Do what you gotta do. Like, I'm so draining. I'm not the same person. I mean, I wasn't. He just made me to a whole different person. So just like naturally, I would care, because I'm a very caring person. But after a while, I was just like, well, go ahead and do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
You really said that to me? I said, did you really just say that you're gonna commit suicide for the 50 million times to me? Like,
yeah. I remember that relationship, and I remember I seen a meme earlier. I think I sent it to you, where the person was like, I was once in a relationship so bad that when I ended it, everybody was happy for me. And that's how I felt about that particular relationship you're talking about. Like, I remember you telling me, like, no, I'm really done, and being like, I feel like if I clap right now, it's going to be insensitive, because that was a bad situation. That was a toxic situation. And you're right, you're an extremely loving person, and I did see you go through that change where they definitely brought out a side of you that is not normal, meek.
It did teach me like to not wait around for all these red flags. I won't, like, I'll see one and I'm done. So just like, or I stand up for myself more where I didn't probably be in the past. Like, nah, this ain't how it's gonna flow. Like, I'm very vocal about how I feel about things, and I don't like a lot of things get past me or whatever, or if I feel used or anything. It's just like, no. It did make me harder. Like, it made me harder in good and bad ways. But in some ways, I do take control of my feelings, and I don't allow a lot of things now because of that situation.
Yeah. Honestly, I think when you are in love, you actually have a dominant personality, which is so funny to me. Because the people I have seen you in healthy relationships and dominant relationships with, the times I have seen you or have been there when y'all interacted, I've been like, she bossy. Like,
and that's the thing, I don't feel that I ever loved that person, the crazy person. I don't even ever feel like I love that man. But like when I am, it is like bossy and like, yeah. But that's how it is in my household. Like my nana and my mom are bossy women. So and my big daddy and my dad are like laid back people.
Yeah. And I also think it's like, I feel comfortable enough with you that I don't have to be like so shy and timid, because you're not actually a shy and timid person once people get to know you at all. So I think that's that. Okay, this is real. Like, I feel comfortable with you.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Cause you see me in my best, in my worst. So you don't. I think no. First hand over. So
look, same thing. Same thing. You see me get drunk and throw up in somebody's brand new car, and then you took me home, and then you cleaned up my throw up. So
that's like that night. I'm like, dang, I had a lot of good ones. I gotta take her one time because she never got to get this one time in. So let me go ahead and take care of her.
Because I was the babysitter.
Yeah, me and my sister always talk about that night. So it's so hilarious.
You know what though? Because I remember the next morning when he get up and be like, yo, because I don't really get blackout drunk. Like, I don't do it. I think I've done that maybe like 3-4 times in my life, and I'm 30. And that was one of them times. And I remember like talking to your sister. I don't, because you spend the night. I don't think your sister spent the night. But I remember having a conversation with your sister.
I don't know if she got up and left for early. I don't know.
Maybe that's it. But I remember talking to her and her like, and I was like, you know, like, what? Because y'all was just like, first of all, then you started stripping before we even got in the house. You just started saying you was hot and taking stuff off. I was like, yeah, I don't remember that part, but I definitely woke up naked, so that makes sense. I remember her telling me, she was like, I don't know, you was dancing with this one dude, and the next thing I know, you were laid out like you were on the cross on the floor. And I, like, every time I think of a night, I remember your sister telling me that.
In the ground. Your face was...
Your sister's like, I don't know where the dude went. She was like, you was dancing with him. I think you just like started to fall out, and he was like, I'ma go. But every time I think of that night, I'm just like, that's what I think.
We all was like, we gotta get her up. It's like, it's not easy to pick up. Like, that's how you got that man, because we asked him, can you pick her up, and he put you over his shoulder.
Oh, is that what happened? I just remember y'all being like, y'all flirting with some guys, and y'all was like, yeah, we just put her in a car until we get done. And it was like this really souped up sports car.
He was trying to drive us to our car because we couldn't like get you all the way to the garage, and he had like pay for like the high parking. Okay, and we had to walk all the way to the garage. So because
I just remember me in the passenger seat, y'all outside, so I thought y'all was like flirting. I was like,
no, we really just let me in the drive us to the car, but you had threw up. So by the time we were trying to get in the car, you already threw up. So he was like,
oh yeah. I still, I feel so bad for that guy, because I remember him saying, I just bought it. And it was like a souped up sports car. It was a yellow sports car.
car was really nice. I'm
Yeah.
surprised you remember.
I do. There's certain parts of the night I definitely remember.
I seen him the day too, and he was like, he had to get his whole car detailed.
That's not funny. That's not funny. Oh gosh, we had some fun days in undergrad.
Today.
Oh
I'm
my
glad
God.
I have memories. I am, because yeah.
Oh yeah. I think honestly, I wish when I was younger I had more of because I feel like I'm a lot more outgoing now, and I'm more self-sure, and I'm less self-conscious, and I think I let that stop me when I was younger. But I definitely had my moments. Where I still went out and had fun. Or I should say in certain areas. In certain areas I was less like sure of myself and everything. So like when we go out, I'm usually like, I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna watch everybody. I'm gonna make sure everybody's good.
Yes, you and my sister. That's why I was like, I always tell my sister like my favorite nights was that time in Cincinnati and then the time in Atlanta. For me, you and Jasmine.
Yeah. No, I know what time you're talking about. That was fun to me until a certain point. The security guard. There was a point in time like we were having a whole. Matter of fact, no, I think it was just me and you. That's the difference. I think it was just me and you.
Oh yeah, that was just me and you. I'm talking about me, you, and my.
Oh, that's the little Kim party, right? Or the Diddy and Kim,
or something like that. Cause that's when I met, you know who? I met all those people at that place.
Oh yeah.
We got all those bottles. We were just chilling in VIP.
Yeah.
You don't recall it?
No, I do. I do recall because there was two guys I remember meeting for that night, and one was like an engineer in like Maryland, and I remember because he was very, very respectful. Because that's the night we met like all the a whole bunch of like Atlanta Falcon dudes, right? And they were like, yeah, y'all should chill with us, and we can hang out all night. Y'all can come watch us play in the morning. And we were like, sir, we're not going home with you. And they just kept hyping it up. We were like, first of all, we leave in the morning. That's not a thing happening. And that's the first time I think I realized, because I wasn't from Atlanta. And they're like, please let me take you to Waffle House. And I was like, sir, I'm not going to a place that I can get a whole meal for $6. Like, that's not impressive. Why do you keep asking me to go to Waffle House? Yeah.
You go get us some food. I just want some food. Tonight.
I just remember being annoyed because I was just like, because they was like, come on, let's go to Waffle House. I'm like, you're in a whole club having fun. No, I feel like you're trying to kidnap me. Why do you keep trying to take me to Waffle House? Because it's 3 a.m. and that's the only thing open. And we're in Atlanta. But yeah, fun nights. So essentially, the reasons they say you should not get back together is, one, because you're bored. I think we don't talk about this enough because it sounds like, who gets back together because they're bored? Lots of people. You know how you bored, not really talking to anybody else, not really doing much, and they hit you up, and now y'all just text all the time. It's not even a good conversation. Y'all just texting because you ain't got nothing else to do. And then you slowly slip back into a routine, and it slowly slip back to a, hey, you want to come over and watch Space Jam? And the next thing you know, you're in a whole relationship again with someone that you really don't actually want to be with. This is definitely a thing. I have a girlfriend who, this is her thing. Like, I feel like every time I'm told about a new guy, I'm like, where did he come from? Well, tell me about him. And they're just like, you know what? I don't really like them. I'm like, so what are you doing? I don't know. I don't know how we got here. And I feel like every time I talk to her, that is how it goes, where I'm just like, oh, who's this guy? Who's this guy on Instagram? She's like, oh, this is blah, blah, blah. Oh, is he funny? Is he blah, blah, blah? Girl, not for real. I don't know how I got in this relationship. I'm like, okay, well, I'm glad you're doing something, I guess.
That could be me, I guess, but I'm way better at just cutting it off now. Like, this isn't working. I'm seeing it slipping into something like, you like me, but I don't really like you that much.
Yeah. You did excellent at that last year. Like, you were really good to be like, we don't even have nothing in common. Goodbye. Like, you're not consistent. I'm good.
Yes, exactly. And we're good. So let's just stop there.
Yeah. So it's definitely a thing. Don't let yourself backslide just out of the fact that you're not doing anything else. Another thing, which I talked about, don't go back just because they love you so much, especially when you know your feelings aren't the same. Yeah. Kind of goes back to what I said earlier, where I was in a whole relationship where it was based on the fact like they made me feel like the most amazing person in the world, even when I was my ugliest personality wise, when I was just like not a nice person, where I felt like I was not looking back, like I was not being a good partner. And they still made me feel like, I love you so much. You are the world. And that's a feeling you can get addicted to, especially when you break up and then you try to go back out there and date and you are like, y'all out here treating me like I'm the yellow starburst and he thinks I'm the pink starburst. What am I doing? It's very easy to slip back into that because you will go out here and date and be like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. I guess they weren't so bad. But that's not a good enough reason to get back with somebody.
Yeah. And that's how my mind used to work, to be honest. Hey, bro, this is not how they be treating me. Let me go back to where I get my love at.
Look.
I said, because you are not. That's treat me like the stepsister. Like,
look, it's a whole thing. It's really hard to get back out there when you had like a really good relationship, or even if you had somebody where, like I had somebody that I talked to, and it felt really magical. Like it really did have its moments where it felt really magical, where it felt really like, yo, I don't remember the last time I've been this. I don't think I've ever been this comfortable with somebody. I don't even think I've ever loved just cuddling with somebody. Like I don't think I've ever texted, I want to cuddle with you. Like I'm not that person. But it was like I did date somebody where I got really mushy and like I want to see. And once you have that feeling, especially if you're not used to it, but even if you're used to it, when you have somebody that like gives you that feeling and then you have to end it and then you go back out here and you're like, to be honest, I don't even like talking to these dudes. Like I can't even y'all can't hold conversations. It does not feel magical. It's really, really hard. And I think we've talked about this before. It's extremely hard too with sex when you meet somebody and you have this like genuine bond. Like you have this genuine like, yo, I've never felt this before. And then you're like, you get used to making love. Like you get used to sex being like this like journey. Like it feels like a whole, like it's not just physically gratifying, but it's like this like euphoria of feelings and love and like connection. And then I feel so corny saying all this, but having that and then like ending it and then trying to go back to having sex with people you don't have that type of thing with, that is a hard transition. That is a really hard transition. Even when you're like, I know I need not be with them, I know whatever, it can be really hard to go from that to trying to date casually again. Or even if you're not dating casually, if you are like, oh, I kind of like this person, I want to see where this goes, that's still hard when you go back and you're like, huh, okay. I mean, I guess that was great. I did not hear Marvin Gaye playing in the background. Did not feel butterflies. I mean, it was good, but like, yeah, I forgot. Like, I didn't used to hear Aretha singing. Like, no, it's just SpongeBob in the background. Okay, well, that's life now. Cool. That's a hard transition. I had to make that transition.
Like, also, it could just be like the way you felt about that person. Like you could go back and do that person again, and it might not even feel like how it felt at that time.
Oh, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
But no, I am saying based on feelings. Even with like based on feelings, it can change the sex. And then when you try to go back to like casual sex where you don't have those type of feelings, even if it's with that person, you try to go back to having sex with people and it's not that feeling anymore because you don't have that connection anymore. It's hard. It's hard to get used to that again. I mean, yeah, because that's definitely happened to me. People who like there was a particular time where and not particularly sex, but like there was a particular time where things really was just like so much more amazing. And then we tried to talk again and it's like, this doesn't feel amazing. I don't like you cuddling me. It feels very smothering now. And it goes back to what you said, like feelings. And also, again, there's certain things that can happen in a relationship where it's like, I can never again have that feeling for you. There's no way to reverse that because of whatever happened. And that's also another one. Like when something irreversible has happened, something that is like a deadly sin for you, don't try to make it work. Like, I don't care how much you love them. I don't know. I'm not married. I've never been married. So I don't know how that works in marriages. But we not about to be boyfriend, girlfriend, and you cheat on me. Like, I'm not dealing with that. Like, I just let me make it very clear. You will come home and half the furniture will be gone. We're not doing that. That's no working it out for me. I'm not arguing with you over other women. I'm just not. Yeah. So when you have those type of situations, they definitely recommend, like, if you know you are very strong on one thing, no matter how much you love a person, how much history you have, stay strong in that and don't try to get back together because it's going to come back. Whether it's because they do it again, whether it's because your feelings never really got over it, it's going to come back. And for some people, it's not cheating. Like, I definitely know people who, like, they can forgive cheating. Like, if you don't do it again, they can forgive it for various reasons. They can forgive it and they'll forgive cheating. But, like, their thing is, like, you're not going to fuck up our money. Like, and that's their thing. Whatever your thing is, be true to what your thing is. If your thing is, like, sir, I don't date broke dudes, stick with that. You don't date broke dudes. Because even if you get back together and you're like, okay, well, I make enough money, that's still your mindset, and you're eventually going to resent that person. And you're like, what y'all non-working ass. It's going to come up eventually, whatever your thing is. All right, guys, so we are going to wrap it up. Definitely hit us up. Let us know, what are some of your non-reversible things that, like, no, once you do this, there is no getting back together. And have any of you guys had successful stories of, like, me and them broke up, now we're happily married?
Yeah, I love to.
Yeah, love to hear it. Also, not gonna do a check-in today because me and Neek recorded back to back. So we already know each other's check-in. And unless we sit here and lie, be like, yeah, girl, I did that thing I said I was gonna do, we can't really do it. Still trying to manifest stuff, still looking for jobs. Though, let me say, the news is getting concerned about COVID again. And if we shut down again, I'm perfectly fine staying at my job. If we go back to working remotely again, I can stay longer. Like, it's not going to kill me. I got to be 100% honest. Now, but your job never fully shut down, right?
We never ever shut down. So I need to look for a remote job.
Yes, these remote jobs, you guys. I was applying for jobs, and, like, I don't know if you guys noticed, but when you apply for jobs on Indeed, they'll send you updates, which is a bit nerve-wracking because they'll be like, 10:20 a.m. This employer viewed your application. They did not decide to contact you. Like, why do I need to know that? What? I mean, it doesn't say they did not decide to contact you. Like, this employer viewed your information. But in my head, I'm like, okay, so they viewed my information 8 hours ago and they decided not to contact me.
Yeah.
Why did I need to know that? But also, one of the things they have, which, like, is nerve-wracking, they tell you how many other people apply. And there was a job I applied to where over 1,100 people applied. So I just went ahead and took that one off my list. I just went ahead and was like, please stop giving me updates on this. Because it's like, one, when you have that many people apply, and I've worked for companies where this happened. I worked for companies where a lot of people apply for those positions, and they're not about to sit through 1,000 resumes. So first they have the computer or the system eliminate people that don't have certain keywords in their resume. And the computer picks up on those keywords, which is why it's always good, if you're serious about job hunting, to change your resume a little bit for each job, to tweak it. Because if you see a job and it says project management, even if you technically done project management, it's good, but you don't say it that way. And you're like, when they read it, they'll be like, that's technically project management. No. Put the actual word in there. You need to change your resume to have certain keywords in there. And you can usually find those keywords by looking at the job posting itself. Because a lot of these big corporations, especially government corporations, your resume first goes through a computer to cut down on how many people they actually have to read through. So that's thing one. And then thing two is when you have jobs where there are like 300, 400, 500 people applying and that get through the system. Those are just the ones that actually get through the computer part. I've worked at jobs like this. And basically what happens is they figure out, do they know any people on this list? And they just look for people who they know. They recognize their name because they had meetings with them. They recognize the company they work for and they know a couple of people over there and they can kind of feel out like, hey, you know this person? They're a good worker. Or certain companies are just like, no, I know we've hired from this particular company before and we've always got good workers. It's also the same way with schools. There's kind of a running joke in our community about one of the schools where, for social work in particular, when you hear somebody graduate from there for social work, their master's program, it's kind of a running joke. Like, so they're a horrible worker. I don't know why this school keeps producing horrible workers, but it's a thing. And at first, I thought it was just like, maybe it's just the people in my group. Maybe it's just people at my job. But no, I have been to now like 4 jobs where it's a thing, where it's like, and I'm not gonna say the school. But it's like a thing. First of all, that's going to cause a whole bunch of issues for several reasons. But no, it's a running thing where you be like, oh, and I got Tanya's, old client. I'm looking through it, and it is so horrible. And I'm like, girl, Tanya graduated from XYZ. You're like, oh, she graduated? Girl, I didn't even know. If I knew that, like, it's a whole thing.
Wow.
It's a whole thing. And there are companies that, like, they know that's a thing. Because I've actually worked from a place where when I got hired, they actually straight up told me, like, yeah, we always get great workers from your school. Every time anybody that graduated from that program, they're always really hard workers. So sometimes things like that could put you in a door, and you'll be surprised because people think it's these big name schools where you're like, oh, they only want the Ohio State people. Oh, they only want the Georgia State. No, you'll be surprised how many, like, they're like, no, small schools. My grad school was smaller than the other. Well, I guess technically now I found out it was like the 3rd largest school in the state now, but it didn't used to be. But actually I ended up finding out like a lot of people in my field actually love hiring people from that school. Yeah. So situations like that. But back to my point, I Indeed keeps sending me updates to let me know that, like, hey, they went with another person. I'll be like, okay, I don't know why y'all need to tell me that. Like, I don't why y'all need to tell me 500 people have applied since I applied. That's not helpful. That makes me feel like, yeah, because when that happens, it's one of those, like, you have to have some type of connection to get in, to even interview. Unless you just really have a standout resume. But usually if it's that amount of people, they're not looking through 300 resumes. I'm telling y'all this right now. They're not looking through 300 resumes, unfortunately. Yeah. So with that said, still semi sort of job hunting. I actually had an impromptu interview today where the person called me and was just like, hey, are you Russ? And I was like, yeah. Oh, you applied for blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, hi. Yeah, I did. And then they were like, so, what did you do at this particular position? And they just went through and interviewed me right there on the spot. And I was not expecting it. And so apparently that's a thing too. But the search continues. How is your hunt going?
I mean, I've been applying to jobs. I only had one interview. And it's just harder to find remote jobs here, or I'm not licensed either. So that's another barrier. So it's been challenging, but I haven't stopped looking. Because if it happens, I want it to happen. I don't want to just say, oh, I'm going to stay here. That's not an option. I just been keep applying and hoping someone give me a call. I just said I only had one interview.
Well, also, I don't know if this is the same for you, but I know for me, also, like, when you are unhappy or you're in a situation where you're extremely stressed work-wise, you start looking for jobs in a very particular way, where you're like, I'm not just about to take anything. And I found that it's been harder for me to even find jobs I want to apply to.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing for me, because I'll come across a lot of jobs where I'm just like, I don't want to do this, but I don't want to do that. Like, yes, I have the qualifications for that. I don't want to apply to that because I'm just going to be moving my unhappiness to another unhappiness. Yeah.
That's the thing too. I don't want to be in something else that's going to stress me out as much as this one. Because even the interview I went to, I was wondering what that stressed me. So I'm just like, I'm trying to be strategic with my choices, but I know I need and want to get out of there. So.
Oh, same. I am like slowly trying to tiptoe my way out of my field, and it's not been successful. Because, like, there's a thing. So I feel like this is what happened. My current job title sounds so interesting. And it's not, but it's just the title sounds really interesting. And I find people who know they have no plans on hiring me sometimes want to call me just to talk about it. Because later I'll get an email, or even there, they're like, okay, you sound like such an amazing candidate, but unfortunately your experience really just doesn't line up. Then why did you just waste my hour, Carol? You know when you read my resume.
You're just being nosy here. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I had this one place where I had 2 interviews, and then they didn't offer me the position, and the reason for not offering me a position was like, you don't have any experience in this. And I had experience that was adjacent, like transferable experience. Like, y'all need me to do therapy? I went to school for therapy. I've done therapy. I'm currently doing brief therapy. I'm just not doing long-term therapy right now. And with that job, it's brief therapy, but they wanted me to do a very specific form of therapy, which no one really uses in the field because it's not even really a theory. Like, people keep calling it theory, and it's just like, no, it's just telling people what to do. Anyways, and like that was one of the things where they were just like, oh yes, you don't do this therapy, and you this is one of the modules that we use. And I'm like, yeah, and I can learn it because it's not real therapy. It's not like it's something in depth I have to study. It's literally like, if you Google it, it's like 3 steps. And then like also like there was some other things. They were like, oh yeah, because it was a remote job. They're like, yeah, we're concerned that you might not be able to learn our systems. And I'm like, how hard is your system? Like, do y'all not train on the systems? I'm a big believer that companies need to start hiring based on work effort, passion, and personality, because a lot of times these companies are like, well, we want you to have 8 years experience in this. And it's like, okay, but how does the person get 8 years if no one will hire them and give them the chance to have that experience?
Exactly. How am I supposed to get there?
Right. Meanwhile, y'all keep hiring the same people that hate what they do, and they come to y'all team miserable and whatever. When the truth of the matter is, a lot of this stuff you can just train people. Like, it's not as hard as people make it seem. I actually got offered a job. It was just too far away. I think I said this before. I low-key have just been applying. At the beginning, I was just applying to everything. I was applying from like therapy to like hospitals to like airline stewardess. And I got an interview and they liked me and they wanted to hire me. Y'all, this place was 2 hours away. And I and like, she didn't tell me to the end. She was like, so like, you're not concerned about the commute? And I was like, the commute? And because of the place I'm moving to, it's farther from the city than where I am now. So I was like, yeah, I mean, that's going to be a thing anywhere because they don't really have a lot of jobs in my field, in my community. And they're like, yeah, but like, I don't know, 81 miles is a lot. I was like, 81 miles? Like, I had a whole moment where I was like, 81 miles?
How did you know? I didn't see it.
Also, one, you know my attention span. There's definitely a chance I didn't read all the way through it. It was just like, LMSW, I got that, click. You know, with Indeed, you can just click one button and they send you like your reply. But also, I don't really know outside of Atlanta that well. Like, anything that's more than 30 minutes outside of Atlanta, I don't know about. Like, I don't know. Yeah, so like, I know the Gwinnett's, I know the Stockbridges, I know DeKalb, I know Marietta, Alpharetta, Cumming, but that's where I stop. Like, anything outside of Forsyth County, I don't know about. And I only know about Forsyth County because I know my black behind needs to not be there. Like, that's it. Anything outside of that, like, I once took a job right out of college. My first job was a therapy job. I applied and I didn't know it was in Jasper, Georgia. You guys, I lived in Alpharetta at the time. This was like an hour commute going into like it was North Georgia. There's not a lot of people of color in this particular town. I was knocking on people's doors and like straight up they were looking at me like, what are you doing here? Like, I had a couple of clients who like, after like meeting me or I opened the door, they're like, oh yeah, because one was a teen boy and they're like, yeah, he's not here right now. They kind of just closed the door. And I was like, I definitely feel like that was because I was black. It was definitely the area in particular I was in was definitely one of them areas where it was like, make sure you get gas before you go. Don't stop along the way. There's a lot of Confederate flags. Like, I'm sure if I went now, it's a lot of Trump signs. Yeah, so that's the thing. I don't know Georgia well. Like, I know Atlanta and that's about it. It's the same thing when I took my licensure test. Like, all of Atlanta was booked and I had to get my license by a certain amount of time if I wanted to keep my job. They gave me like 6 months to get it. And all of Atlanta was booked like for months out. And so I was like, well, where is there a place available? I was like, there's available testing in Augusta. I was like, okay, y'all, I got on the road, put it in. It was like 2.5 hours. Didn't even check. I did. I took off that. Actually, not even take off because it was for my licensure. They gave me that day off. And I was just like, oh, I'm going to go find a little coffee house and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to study hard and blah, blah, blah. Because my child was in daycare and I was like, let me just go there. And that's a big thing for me. I like sitting at coffee houses, reading and stuff like that. So that was my plan. But actually, by the time I got there, it was like, no, it's time to take this test. So,
yeah.
So maybe that's why folks aren't hiring me. Like, she clearly don't pay enough attention to things. But I do. I'm really good when I get into things. I actually really am.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. So that's it. Anyways, guys, that is it. I hope you guys have an amazing week. And you guys will see us next week. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share. And if you guys are enjoying the episode, definitely ask that you go to Apple Podcasts, leave us a review, leave a couple words with your review. That really helps us. It really helps them share our program with more people who may not know anything about our podcast at all. Other than that, you guys have a good one, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.